Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffery Combs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jeffery Combs on a beautiful 2-4 Tuesday. I mean, it is a beautiful day in California today, so good to be here with you in a relaxed body. So I know that the Josh Waxman team is on its way, so just going to get dialed in a comfortable seat here in crimson and gold. So the psychology of truth, that is the topic for today's Facebook Live. I'll also be offering a free 20-minute coaching session at the end of the session. So good to be here with you on 2-4 Tuesday in a relaxed body. The topic of today's Facebook Live is called the psychology of truth, and I'm going to go ahead and let the Facebook Live populate. And this is one of the greatest books ever written on this topic. It is one of the few books that actually has the word truth in the title of it. So good to be here with you on a 2-4 Tuesday afternoon. I want to move into the inspirational portion of today's Facebook Live. So if you're joining me with me and you're following along, good to be here with you. Dr. Rachel, good to see you on the psychology of truth. So when you are in truth, in a calibrated energy, your energy is oscillating at a very high level of consciousness. On the other end, when you're in denial and you're not understanding the truth and you're holding on to trauma bonds, panic patterns, and events from the past, you're oscillating, transmuting, and telepathically sending your feelings at a very low vibrational energy, and then you'll attract your reality, people and situations that will foster and fulfill the feelings that keep you overwhelmed, feeling abandoned, rejected, neglected, and other situations that keep you in a state of denial. When you're in denial, it means that you're avoiding understanding the truth, you're holding on to the past, and you keep recreating the same situation to fulfill the same set of feelings. So in any addiction, addicts are in levels of denial, depending on the level of denial that you or they are in. And so the addict will say that they don't have a drinking problem, or they don't have a debting problem, or they will make statements up or make up lies to avoid the truth. The truth doesn't set you free. The truth brings you to a state of consciousness where you can begin to be honest. And once you start to live in rigorous honesty, now you can begin to address character defects. And until you're able to be in truth, be honest with self, you'll keep recreating the same neurological network of neurons wiring and firing that creates the same situation, that creates the habitual habits and patterns that will keep you doing what you do, that keep you in anxiety, fear, and doubt. And then one of the breakthrough factor of any level of letting go is being able to be honest with self. And as you become more and more honest with yourself, then you're letting go of stories that you hold on to, you're letting go of trauma, you're letting go of events, and you're letting go of people. One of the biggest lies that we tell each other and tell ourselves is we tell ourselves we had a good childhood, or we had a great childhood. And we will tend to protect our family or protect people in our family as we continue to live in a place called not only denial, but we live in what is called brain fog. And in that brain fog, we will tend to repress feelings or suppress them. So the repressed feelings are the feelings that are from the hippocampus, where the brain swells, the hippocampus swells, enlarges, the amygdala shrinks, and then the prefrontal cortex also enlarges. So the pinball that's going off in your head is not that you're crazy, it's that you have brain fog and panic patterns. And in that state of overwhelm, this is where a lot of people say, I don't know. And this is why in communication, a large percent of the world populace, which is Canadian, American, Australian, the English-speaking language, most of society will say guess, kinda, and I don't know in their sentences. Now, when you're saying I don't know in a sentence, it's in the structure of your sentence, and you keep saying I don't know, and you say that over and over, what is it that you're really saying? I mean, what does that actually mean? So what it means is what it meant. It means that you don't know. And so it becomes an edified 3 words. I don't know. Americans will turn it into one word, I-D-U-N-N-O. I don't know. I don't know. And they say it over and over in a sentence structure. And when you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. You're creating that let go space. And as you are letting go, you're letting go of denial, you're letting go of trauma, you're letting go of the past, and this allows you to start to have clarity. And it's that clarity that will eventually allow you to have definite of purpose. And it's the definite of purpose that'll allow you to be purposeful, that'll allow you to be much more engaged in the day-to-day activities of life. And if you're building a business, the truth, you'll start to let go of some of the stories you tell yourself. One of the greatest myths and stories told is that you don't like to be rejected and you don't like rejection. And this is what hinders a lot of people when it comes to the highest paid profession in the world, selling, is that the truth is the prospect doesn't reject you. The prospect doesn't buy from you because, number one, you're not effective. And that's not the number one reason they buy. The number one reason they buy is they're not interested in your product, services, benefit, and feature. But the lower self-ego then turns that into a story. And the story is, I got gaslighted, I got ghosted, I got rejected, I got abandoned. Any multitude of situations to perpetuate the same set of circumstances and same set of feelings. And as you are practicing letting go, you're letting go of the story. And that's one of the main stories that you're going to hold on to. Another main story that you hold on to that is a lie is I'm not good at. I'm not good at selling. I'm not good at branding. I'm not good at writing. I'm not sure if I can put myself out there. A lot of the denial, lies, and situations that we hold on to is to avoid perceived pain. Now, this is a very big book by David Hawkins. It's a very big book. And it is amazing. So when you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings, you're going to start to move into higher consciousness, and that is called truth. Now, in higher consciousness, truth shows up in belief, because belief becomes certainty, and then in certainty you know. And when you continue to tell yourself you don't know to avoid the truth, well, then you continue to stay in low emotional vibration. You continue to stay in anxiety, fear, and doubt. And once again, this becomes very deeply embedded unconsciously. I've been studying this for years, at how many Americans will add these three words into a sentence, I don't know. And they add it into the sentence like it's a comma or a pyramid or a period. And Americans will also add guess in frequently. By every time you're saying guess in a sentence and it's unconscious, what you're saying is I doubt. And by saying you doubt, you're not stating the truth. It keeps you avoiding the truth, and it keeps you in denial. And once again, when you are in this low state of emotional vibration and you're holding on to the greatest lie you hold on to is that you're not good enough. The truth is you are good enough. The truth is you are chosen. The truth is you are right here, right now, and you have an opportunity. The truth is you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings, as you are living in the separation. And the separation that you're living in is called non-attachment. Now, when you're attached to a trauma bond. You're attached to a panic pattern. You're attached to generational trauma. And you're taking on the trauma of a family. The truth is you don't deserve that. The truth is you deserve to let go. The truth is you deserve to be your best self. But the lower self that holds on to codependency will hold on to guilt. And that guilt will absolutely rob you of your ability to be your best self. And when you're not practicing being your best self, who are you being? You are being low vibrational energy. You are being a trauma bond. You're being your worst self rather than being your best self, robbing yourself and the world of experiencing who you really are. And as you begin to really let go, and you really step into letting go, and you embrace letting go, you're going to start to expand on the truth. You're going to start to expand on how good you really are. You're going to expand on the leader you're capable of being. And that's the truth. And in that level of truth, once you start to live in the truth, your energy begins to shift. And there's a shift in your emotions, and it starts to come up. And you begin to release it through your breath. And then that goes up through your neck. And it comes up through your head. And it becomes a release. And what's starting to happen is you're starting to feel the gamma brainwave state. And in that gamma brainwave state of release, you're releasing a neurochemical called DMT, dimethyltryptamine. It's that dimethyltryptamine that allows you to feel that feel-good factor. It's the connectability that's flowing from you. It's effervescent. It's love. It's joy. It's bliss. And you're in the zone. And in that zone, you're actually living your truth. Because your truth is you are good enough. And in that truth, you're capable. And in that truth, you're going to change who and what you attract. And in the truth, you seldom process, think, and overanalyze because you're so committed to being your best self that you've stopped telling yourself lies. And that's what happens in low self-esteem. Low self-esteem is a byproduct of the body keeping score, holding on to events that have happened from the past that overwhelm the emotional higher self. And there's so many experiences from trauma, anxiety, fear, and doubt that a large percent of the population spends their life procrastinating, and they spend their life avoiding, and then they make up excuses. Anytime an excuse is created, it is a lie. And anytime someone overpromises and underdelivers, that is a lie. When you tell someone or someone tells you that they're going to be somewhere at a set time and they don't do it, that is a lie. What we overlook when we're not in truth is we overlook a lot of people's lies and then we accept them. But when you're skilled at personal development, self-improvement, when you're skilled at understanding the truth, when you're skilled at prospecting, you will hear how people overcommit. This is why it's very important that you begin to master your truth so you can hear the truth. And when you hear the truth, you'll be able to differentiate between someone who's a prospect and someone who's not a prospect. You'll be able to tell who's a qualified buyer versus someone who's telling you what you think you want to hear. Yeah, YEAH, let me get back to you. Now, if you understand the truth, that person is telling you what they think you want to hear. They didn't say yes, they said yeah. They said, let me get back to you at an unspecified time. They didn't give you any specifics. And the probability of them following through would be slim and none. And in my coaching model is a one-call close. There's very little to no follow-up in my coaching model. And people will tell me they're going to get back to me, and seldom do they. Around 1% of the population ever gets back to me, and there is that 1%, and there are people who've been that 1%, but most of the people will tell me they're going to do it in the future, or after they get a tax return, or when their ship comes in, or when they get their inheritance, or they're going to talk to their wife, their significant other, or someone down the street in the same financial category that they are in. I mean, that's what most of the planet will do, is they will avoid a commitment, and they will tell you a non-decision because they can't really tell you the truth. So if you're commitment phobic, that's what many people are, you won't be telling the truth. You'll be putting things off. And that's what many people do. So when you learn to tell the truth, you're telling the truth. Telling means I'm stating. When you begin to state the truth, you are the truth. And then in truth, your word becomes your bond. Your word becomes your law. And in that level of committed consciousness, in that level of truth, then you are no longer the mind-body connection to the three forms of trauma: sexual, physical, and emotional. That is what will keep you in a state of fight or flight. That's what will keep you in anxiety, fear, and doubt. When you're in anxiety, fear, and doubt, you're going to tell lies more frequently. When you're in anxiety, fear, and doubt, you're going to overpromise and underdeliver. When you're in anxiety, fear, and doubt, you're going to live in guilt, and you're going to tell people what they want to hear, but you don't really mean it. And then when you become skilled at hearing and listening, you'll hear other people do that. You'll be able to hear people who overcommit. You'll be able to tell when people say, I'll get back to you, they don't mean it. And then when you're in that truth, you can be in a non-attached state and not personalize it. When it's not personal, then you're in the separation of it. And when you're separated, now you can view it as an observation rather than a participant. And this is the same situation you do in yourself. In yourself, in your higher self, you're going to relapse and you'll feel that relapse. But in that higher self, you're going to be able to separate your feelings from the facts, observe the situation for what it is, neutralize fight or flight, move immediately into acceptance, willingness, forgiveness, and gratitude all within a second, just like this, because now you're creating a new neurological network of neurons that wire and fire that's forming higher consciousness. You've been conditioned to live in lower consciousness. That's anxiety, fear, and doubt. And then the generational trauma that you were born into. And if you took on the guilt of your mother, or if you took on the worry of your mother, or if you became a child, if you lost your innocence as a child and had become a grown-up before your time, that's the generational trauma that you're living out. And as you begin to tell the truth about that, and you realize that you lost some of your childhood, and you can forgive the people and yourself for what you've been through. Once you practice forgiveness, you're moving into a higher level of truth because you're starting to make amends. You're starting to ask for forgiveness. So when you're in a forgiveness state, you're actually acknowledging the truth of what you did, and you're asking someone to forgive you. When you make amends, you are living the truth. You are owning your character defects, bringing it to the table and laying it out, being rigorously honest with someone and saying, I did this, will you forgive me? And when you're able to be that person, then you're living truth. And so that's when you're also going to be able to say, this relationship isn't for me. That's the truth. You're able to say, I'm in a traumatic relationship and I'm in a codependent relationship and I can't do this anymore. That becomes the truth. When you're in a business that no longer serves you, or a career, and you come to a crossroad in a career, and that career that they're asking you to compromise your integrity and your truth can't do that anymore, then you have the courage to walk away. Like you, Dr. Rachel. My heart goes out to you for the courage you have, like you, Wayne. It's rigorous honesty. And so when you have the courage to stand the gaff, then you are no longer that mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. When you have that level of courage, you are absolutely standing your truth. And when you're in that level of honesty, you are you and you are free. It's a very, very liberating experience to be that man or that woman who can stand the gaff and can be that committed to their higher self so that you are no longer living the lie. And if you grew up in families where you were consistently guilted for existing, when you were told you're an accident, that's a lie. When you were told you're not good enough, that's a lie. But if you believe that, then that becomes your truth. And see, as you begin to separate yourself from these feelings, then you are not that trauma bond anymore. And when you were consistently told that you're not good enough, and it becomes beaten into you, and then the beaten into you emotionally is also physically. And I've had many people who will say to me, well, I was beaten with a belt. And I've had people admit to me their beatings as a child, but they're not really in the truth of it, they're in the denial of it. And they just accept, well, that's what happens. Not really understanding the trauma that those beatings have created in their life, and then they continue to hold on to these feelings of not being good enough, of the fight or flight before the beating and after the beating, and what that did to the neurological network of neurons that wire and fire. It creates an esteem that's not good enough. And as you begin to separate your feelings, as you begin to let go, as you are no longer the trauma bond, as you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings, you're creating the separation. And in that separation, you are now transcending consciousness. And when you transcend consciousness, you're actually in a quantum leap emotionally. And this is when you own a business, you're in an insurance business, a network marketing business, a real estate business, any multitude of business ventures, you can experience quantum leaps. You can also experience it in recovery. You can experience it in consciousness, because all of a sudden life begins to click for you. Synchronicity becomes a way of life for you. Meaningful coincidences are no longer coincidental. They're phenoms. They become phenomenal. You begin to create this from this chill factor you're living in, from the gamma brainwave state, that you begin to live in peace. You begin to live in higher consciousness. Relapsing is not an option. The pleasure is not worth the pain. You stop criticizing yourself. You're able to be honest with yourself without being critical. And when you do this, you are now transcending levels of consciousness. This is when people begin to show up in your business. They show up in your life. The parking space is available. A ticket shows up in the mail. Money shows up in the mail. In 2018, I received a refund check from one of those three-letter agencies, the Internal Revenue Service, for $10,733.36. My accountant let me know it wasn't possible because I didn't have a refund coming. And besides that, I never take a refund from the Internal Revenue Service. As a California S corporation, if I have an overpayment, it's moved into the first quarter of the next payment. I've never had a refund payment. I've never had a refund check in 27 years of owning a California corporation. Yet in 2018, I received a $10,000 plus check from the Internal Revenue Service that my accountant could not explain. And my accountant is not a novice, and neither could my tax attorney, who's a former IRS revenue agent. It means he was a CID member, Criminal Investigation Department. And these two men both said, that's not possible, but it was, because the truth was I received the check and I enjoyed it. And I didn't question it. I put it into the universe and I enjoyed it, and I bought myself some pleasures. So that's the truth, and that can be your truth too when you let go of denial and you live in higher consciousness. My name is Jeffery Combs, President and Founder, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. You have an outstanding afternoon. If you're on today's Facebook Live and you are new to my content and you have considered hiring me to be your coach, or you're considering rehiring me to be your coach, I offer free 20-minute coaching sessions. And you can access one of those by sending me a Facebook message, and I will respond to you within 24 hours. Thank you very much. You have an outstanding afternoon. Breathe, release, and let go. Jeffery Combs, goodbye.